Hey, thank you for joining me today. This is TarotBro, and today we will be doing a monthly forecast for the month of May for all horoscope signs. I would recommend to check out your sun sign and inner planets such as the Moon, Mars, Venus, Mercury to get a more in-depth, like well-rounded horoscope prediction or forecast. If you have any recommendations as to other types of readings that you'd like to see on this channel, please let me know in the comments. And we'll start it off right away with Aries. What does the month of May look like for you? What can you expect? Right, so we have the Three of Swords, we have the Eight of Swords, and we have the Fool. Right, Aries, so it looks like the month of May is not a time for you to be playing around. It looks like your focus is not quite there, and this may result in some issues. And it's the type of issues that could have been avoided with proper planning. There's a potential that you may fall short in a situation where you would otherwise receive some sort of reward for completing something, almost like school or like an assignment. You know, you do the thing and then you get a positive reward for it, like you get a good grade or you get to go to a good school. And it looks like you are uh, almost sleeping when you should be doing something. Like everybody's like prepping for this important thing and you're kind of just taking it lightly. You're not taking things serious. Like this is the type of energy of like when I was in high school, there would be these uh students that could be, loud and because they were charismatic, they can kind of like you know, talk to the teacher in a way that maybe anybody else wouldn't be able to, and kind of be somewhat of a disturbance, but not so much to where, you needed to call somebody to take care of the situation. But not everybody could do it, and it's almost like during this period, this reading here, like it's almost like if you were to try that, you would get in trouble. This is essentially Pikachu meme energy. Like that picture where Pikachu is like shocked, and the meme is supposed to be like, you do something negative and then you get negative consequences. That's the energy right here. So, essentially just to, recap everything, you may not be getting a positive outcome. You may not be getting a positive result, and it could be just directly based off of your actions. It looks like you're taking it a little too lightly and you may miss the ship. The ship may go on without you and it's going to be because of you because maybe, you you partied too hard, the alarm didn't wake you up. So it's that kind of energy. So um, in order to avoid any situations, just make sure you step up a little bit, maybe take things a little more serious because the month of May, you may, you know, again, like have the alarm not wake you up, and it's going to be entirely your fault. So just try to avoid that. So stay on top of things. All right. So next up we have Taurus. How is the month of May going to affect you? What can you expect? All right. So we have the Page of Wands, the Queen of Cups, and the Six of Swords. All right, Taurus. So it looks like there's something that you're doing or you're going to be doing that is taking up a lot of your creative energy, like something you're putting a lot of your creative energy onto, whether it be like a hobby or some sort of skill, a good like example could be like singing, it's like you're putting a lot of your energy into singing and it's something that you really enjoy. But what you'll find is it's not going to be well received, or it might not yield the reaction that you want. It doesn't have to be singing, but it's almost something that you're doing. Think of it like you're creating ceramics or pottery, or you're doing something that's taking a lot of creative energy, and it's something that you really enjoy and it's something that you put your attention into. But you're gonna find that you're not quite there yet. Like it's not. Um, I don't want to say it's not good, but it's not reflecting the same way that you're looking at it. And it could be with something that you're doing, but it could also be like your approach to things. It could be the way that you're used to doing things, the way that you interact with people, or something that you pride yourself on. Like if you're a people person or you're really good at talking to people, you're gonna find that you might not be, and that's something that you'll learn during this time, and it's something that you will adapt to and move forward with. So it's nothing really negative, but it's almost like a learning experience. It's like a growth experience. It's not really anything that should impact you negatively. It's more like constructive criticism, or if it's something that really has no future and it's taking up a lot of energy, it could be the decision to essentially, try something else. Like maybe you're trying to do, programming and you're just awful at it. It could be the call to do something else. But more than likely, this looks like it's something that you can essentially get better at. So you just need to maybe like anticipate it or brace for it, and you can also make some changes and tweaks here and there. But it all depend on how intertwined this is around other people. It's kind of like this energy is very similar to like American Idol. Like you'll have somebody who is just awful, but they've never been told in their life that they're awful, and then finally they get up on stage and have these professional judges who are in the music industry, have to break it to them. It's a little bit like that. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be singing, but it's something where you're putting a lot of your uh, creative energy into, so just be on the lookout for something like that, try not to get hurt, Um, yeah, there's a possibility that you could, still get better at something like this, but you just need to maybe self-reflect. Um, and again, depending on how intertwined it is with other people, that that'll vary like how it affects you. But overall, it doesn't seem like too negative of a thing to encounter. All right, next up we have Gemini. What can you expect for the month of May? All right, so we have the Two of Pentacles, we have the Ace of Pentacles, and we have the Eight of Wands. All right, so it looks like this is a busy time when it comes to either material possessions or finances. It's almost like the energy of you have way too much to do and not enough time to do it. This could be something like, you just moved in somewhere and you're having to, unpack, but at the same time, connect utilities, and all the while, you had a passing in the family and you got to take care of all that. It's like everything's hitting you all at once, and it's just a little bit overwhelming at the moment. So it's a time to try to find additional hours in the day to try to complete everything that you're doing. This is not a time that you're going to want to sit around and do nothing. This is a time where you should try to achieve everything at once. There's also the possibility here that if you have been on top of everything, like if you've been, working very hard, that this is the moment where it's going to pay off. So that's also a possibility here in this reading. You'll know what category you fit into depending on the type of work that you've been giving. If you've been working extremely hard, you can expect positive things for the month of April. If you've been working same as you always have, or maybe just minimum or whatever, then you can expect things to get a lot harder in May. So it's all going to be reflective of how you've been. Next up, we have Cancer. What does the month of May have in store for you? What can you expect? All right, so we have the Hermit, the Empress, and Ace of Cups. All right, so this is looking like a positive time for you. It's looking like this is a period where you're getting your life together. You're making the right choices. You've sat down You wrote it down on paper. This is the moment where everything's coming together. You know, the choices that you've made for your life are coming together, and it's resulting in, you know, a positive way for you. You know, like this is a perfect time to be planning for the future, planning for your life. This could even be a period of pregnancy. It's essentially where new ideas are not new ideas, but this is where the birth of something big is coming. You know, this is a period where the seeds are being planted for something big. So this is a very positive time for you. It's going to result in positive things coming down the road. Um, you know, if you haven't really put any thought into the future, or long term, short term, whatever, this is a perfect time where um, this energy is really helping you, and you'd benefit a lot if you could, stop to think about improving your life. This is a perfect time to do so. Everything is lining up for you, and it's gonna work out in your favor. You know, everything is kind of lined up for you. So do take the time and really, plan it out and set up a really good life for yourself, because this is the perfect time to do so. All right, next up we have Leo. How is the month of May gonna treat you? What can you expect for the month of May, Leo? All right, so we have Justice, the World, and Seven of Wands. All right, Leo. So it looks like for the month of May, you have some opposition. You have almost like an organization or an entity or something trying to take back something that was given to you. Almost like they're trying to take a win from you due to like a technicality. It could be like a job or like a position or um, something that you've been placed into, and someone's trying to take it away from you. The focus here though is not, whether or not you're gonna lose something. It's more in the fight. You know, like you're being called upon to fight for what's yours, for your position, for your place, for your role. You're being called to fight for it, and that's what you're gonna encounter. I don't see you losing anything here. It's just more like the actual fight. You know, if you don't rise to the occasion, there could be maybe the potential that you're stripped of whatever, someone is after. But it looks like you have like the right energy to like fight for what's yours. It doesn't have to be work related. This could be, whatever it is that you would have gotten that maybe somebody feels that you weren't not necessarily deserving, but like that wasn't meant for you. So it could be something else. It could be like a win of some sort. Like this is the period where you have to be like Cal Nottingham from Talladega Nights. He's the best friend of Will Ferrell's character, played by um, something Riley, John C. Riley. Like at the end of the movie, the guy's never had a win in his career, when it comes to race car driving. And at the end, there's like this big, final showdown where Will Ferrell's character, um, Ricky Bobby, he, they get like in this crazy crash, him and his like arch nemesis, Gerard. And then what they do is, they get off on foot of the vehicle, and then they run, and then they make a sprint towards, the finish line. And then Ricky Bobby, Will Ferrell's character, he wins. But at the end, it turns out that, due to a technicality, those wins don't count because they got out of the vehicle. But then Cal Nottingham, John C. Riley's character, the best friend to Will Ferrell's character, he ends up winning. And one of the things he says as he's receiving the trophy, he says, "I know this is just a technicality, but if you try to take this trophy away from me, I'm gonna square sock you right in the face." This is the energy that you need to be exhibiting right now. You, like, is everybody deserving of everything? Maybe not, it's whatever. But if somebody tries to take something away from you that, could impact you in any way negatively, it's that same attitude. I'm not condoning the violence, for anyone, but it's the attitude to have. You're not gonna go out without a fight. And again, this isn't physical violence. This is more like the attitude to have. So Want to say again, I'm not condoning violence. Please don't punch anyone. Uh, but yeah, that's your reading. All right, next up we have Virgo. What can you expect in the month of May? How is the month of May going to affect you? All right, so we have the King of Wands, the Tower, and King of Pentacles. All right, Virgo. So it looks like something is coming, something that has slipped through the cracks, either with you not noticing or maybe you turning a blind eye to. It looks like it's something that you have put off, something that you could have been taking care of, but you chose not to, or you put on the back burner, or something that you neglected, maybe monetarily. So it could be, you've been living like a king, thinking that, this stored wealth that you accumulated is going to last you forever, and then, something happens, like some sort of monetary challenge that you didn't anticipate for. For the most part, this doesn't look like it's something that you ignored, completely. It seems more likely like this is something that slipped through the cracks. And the way that this may affect you might not necessarily be catastrophic, but it's like the page is turning on a story, like a chapter. So it's going to be some adapting that you'll need to get used to. It could be the loss of a job for some. It could be also, your business relied heavily on a specific supplier, and that supplier is, out of business or they've retired, and now you have to do something different. The main takeaway that you should take away from this here is that you're going to need to be adaptable. You're going to need to be flexible, and if possible, try to look at your blind spots. There may be some situations where you're really blind to that you would never consider would happen, and you just need to start looking everywhere and anticipate that maybe something may happen, and you need to have a backup plan. You need to have like a system in place, should something go wrong. So, just do some planning. It looks like financially, this may impact you, materially. So, just take a look at what's in your blind spot and plan accordingly. All right, next up we have Libra. What does the month of May look like for you, Libra? All right, so we have the King of Wands, the Hierophant, and the Seven of Pentacles. All right, Libra. So it looks like you are looked at as somebody who uh, gets things done. Like you're not one in a deficit. You're the one who is probably done with their work before everybody else. And it looks like in May you're being called upon to uh, almost pick up the workload for someone else. So it's almost like you're being punished for being a hard worker. This doesn't necessarily have to be in the work field. This could be something like you have be like a black sheep relative who doesn't have their act together, and you're being asked to help them, or even maybe shelter or house like that kind of relative. Um, so you're good at what you do. You're efficient. You're always on top of things, and because of that, you're being asked to pick up for someone else. So um, it could be in the workplace. It could be in your home life. It could be in some sort of other area that I'm not thinking about right now that might affect you, but you're being asked to, and it could be the work, like your job, be asking you that, or it could be like your family life asking you that. It could be even say like a church asking you to, do something, but it's essentially because of how good you are you're gonna have to pick up the slack for someone else. So just be aware of that. If you don't want to do anything like that, just kind of be cognizant of the organizations that you belong to. Whether it be work, whether it be home life, things like that. If you anticipate you're gonna have to take on a responsibility like that in the next few days, few weeks. then maybe make some arrangements, like, hey, you know what? I actually can't house this relative of mine because, I already, have my mother-in-law here or something like that. Just try to use up space. If you're gonna have to do additional work because of somebody else, maybe being let go, laid off, or, moved away, then, maybe take your vacation time at that point. The point is, you're good at what you do, and it may almost be taken advantage of or kind of taken for granted. They're just assuming that, well, this person can, is a good worker, so let's just have this person, fill in for the lack of work for somebody else. So, just don't get taken advantage of. If this is something positive that you don't mind doing, then go ahead and do it. But, just be on the lookout for something like that. People taking advantage of your work ethic or, the kindness of your heart or how good you are at what you do. All right, next up, Scorpio. What can you expect in the month of May? How is the month of May going to affect you? All right, so we have the Sun, the Four of Wands, and the Nine of Wands. All right, Scorpio, so it looks like you have some victory coming your way. So it looks like if you haven't already, if you've been in the middle of, say, like some kind of competition or something that you're really trying to get the favorable outcome, whether it be getting into a type of school or, getting a job, something essentially to better your livelihood. If you've been in the middle of that, or if you haven't yet, you may, but if you have that going on, you are mostly going to find positive results. You're going to get whatever it is that you've been after. You're going to get what you've been fighting for. Um, it's essentially a tough fight, but if you keep at it, um, like see it through, you're going to be victorious. Again, this looks like it's going to be something where it impacts your home life. So, as far as like comfort, things that essentially bring you like a happier home, so this looks like it for most, it's going to be something job related, but it's not necessarily confined just to a job, but it's going to be some sort of competition, something where you really had to um, put in your all. This could also be like a uh, well, yeah, like a job, I guess, but specifically like say like a job search, like where everybody was applying for the same position. It looks like you were going to be the one to be victorious. There is also the possibility for a rude awakening due to a happy home. So, for example, like if you just recently got married, you are adapting and understanding what things really are like, now that you're married. Or say you just bought a new home, you are the weight of owning a home is like now falling onto you. Like it's not as easy as you thought it was. But the main takeaway from both outcomes is that you are now hardened through battle. You have that battle experience. You are a better person. You're a triumphant person after battle, and you have a happy home. So it's um it's going to be the same regardless of what outcome you get. All right, next up we have Sagittarius. What does the month of May have in store for you? What can you expect in the month of May? All right, so we have the Ace of Swords, the Hangman, and Ace of Cups. All right, Sagittarius, so it looks like this period of your life is one where you are leveling up, you are moving to the next stage. This could be like a raise, moving on to a more prestigious position. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the workforce. So it's essentially you're evolving into a better person, and you have to think of it in terms of you're the boss, and then you find that people are kissing up to you now. You're getting more attention. You're getting more favor out of people. You're a more favorable person. The level up, it sort of seems as though as if like you are now taking over the family business. You're leveling up in that way. Like you're taking on a new role. It doesn't have to be a work role, but it could be, like you're now the alpha of the house. You're now the person who leads the Thanksgiving prayer. You're the individual who cuts the turkey now. So in the month of May, you're going to be called to take on these responsibilities, but uh, you have to be ready for it. Like you can't be your childlike way. You have to be almost a grown up about this. You have to um, give in to it. You have to, go with the flow. You have to assume the role. So when the opportunity comes in May, just be on the lookout, you know. And it'll be different for other people. Not everybody has a family business being handed to them. But it's some sort of role where you are going to level up, in your status. Maybe it could be again work or family, but it'll come and you know when it comes, know how you want to respond to it. Maybe you don't want to be there yet, but you'll get the opportunity to do so. All right, so next up we have Capricorn. What can you expect for the month of May? How's the month of May going to treat you? All right, so we have the Queen of Cups, the Tower, and King of Pentacles. All right, so this one here, it's very similar to a previous reading. Olivia's also an earth sign. So it looks like something is coming in the month of May, something that is going to shake things up. Sometimes it results in, um, like a downsizing, a loss of a job, or loss of a position. Could be like a friendship, something that oftentimes may have been avoidable. Uh, this is something that you might be able to avoid or possibly could have avoided, but it looks like it's something that you have almost turned a blind eye to. If it's like something to do with finances, it's almost like you have neglected to save or you've uh, neglected to be resourceful. Like you're throwing away. You're using napkins. Or you're using towels as napkins. You're kind of blowing through your resources. But in this case, this one here too, the way it differs from the other one is that you are also avoiding almost responsibility. Like you are uh, not preoccupied with something that may be coming your way because you are choosing not to look there. It's almost like you want to have fun and you are not gonna be worried about something that is not going to be fun, something that doesn't instill you with fun, satisfaction, happiness. So it's like you're turning a blind eye to something that is coming your way. What this is, it's going to vary for people, but the core thing is that it's a shakeup. It is something that is going to rock you, something that is going to have you adapt. It's essentially the tower crumbling down and you having to essentially rebuild from the pieces. When you come through from it, it's a learning experience. You come out better eventually, but as it's happening, it's not seen as something favorable. It's not seen as something that anybody would choose to go through. But, there is rebirth, in situations like this. But again, what's coming your way is something that you're turning a blind eye to. So, in situations like this, it's best to, you know, um, kind of reevaluate your life a bit. Try to see what corners you're not looking in. Like maybe your closet, you're not cleaning it up. Uh, it's time to do that. It's time to clean things up, and hopefully by doing so, you can avoid any like big falls, that cards like the Tower bring. I believe it was Virgo who had an extremely similar reading, um, but it would make sense, to Earth signs. I could be wrong though, but if you have any other inner planets that are similar to that, I would take this reading to heart and uh, you know check your areas of your life and see if there's anything you can do in those areas to mitigate any big falls. All right, next up we have Aquarius. What can you expect in the month of May? How is the month of May going to treat you? All right, so we have the Three of Wands, the King of Cups, and the Two of Wands. All right, so it looks like there is a yearning, there is a desire for a better life. It could be maybe not too serious. It could be something like, you see somebody else in a better position than you, or in a better situation than you, and you kind of want that. It's like a fleeting moment of I want that, but you might not be willing to do the work. It looks like this is the theme for you in May, that you are almost like dissatisfied, but you are not willing to take the steps in order to get to where it is that you perceive yourself being happy going. And it could be something because you are maybe not like brave enough to say leap from one end, to the other. You don't want to abandon ship and let go of something like sure and certain for something that is unsure. Um, it's in terms of happiness. So it's something that could be like a relationship. It's like you might be unsatisfied at the moment. It could be another individual. It could be your current social state, or it's essentially something that contributes to your happiness. I think for most is going to be maybe like a relationship. You're kind of almost like a kind of like bored, but not so much that you're willing to end something. You're more like kind of like lethargic. You're wanting something more. You wanting to be more fulfilled, yet you're not willing to take any steps to actually achieve that. Like you're not gonna do anything for getting those steps to get in that happy space. But this could be just a like a fleeting idea, like it's a fleeting feeling, because it's something that I think most definitely could go away, maybe like past the month of May. But this is a theme that you may have. It might not be with a relationship, but it's definitely some faction, some area of your life that provides happiness. You're not willing to let go of what you have in order to get something better. It's like that saying, uh, a bird in the hand is worth more than two in the bush. It's kind of like that is what you currently have. Um, because it's dealing with happiness. That's why I think for most it's going to be relationship, but it could be other areas of your life. Um, there it's almost like a mild curiosity, but maybe a little bit like an envy. Like you are looking at the greener grass and you'd like to step in that grass. However, where you're standing is something that you are more certain of, and even though the grass you're currently standing on isn't as green, you know that that grass is going to stay the same color regardless of what happens. And you don't know if the grass that looks greener, if it's going to stay green forever, or if it's even real grass. And that's like the theme that you have going on. um, I would say, count your blessings, or be appreciative of what you do have. If in fact, there is a calling to make some adjustments in your life, and say jump ship to whatever it is calling you, then you can do that. But a lot of times, these feelings are fleeting, and it's one of those things that oftentimes you're better off had you just waited it out a bit. So uh, I would say maybe, if you're really set on it, I would say maybe wait it out a bit. And if you still feel that way, maybe even after the month of May, maybe then, take steps towards doing something. But again, you can kind of write a list, pros and cons, you know, why you should stay in your intuition, and then why you shouldn't. And then if you feel that perhaps maybe this is the right move, then go ahead and make the choices for the better life of yours. But it does seem that this is something that is almost like a luxury. Like it's a privileged problem to have. You know what I mean? Like you are not necessarily experiencing a problem, but when everything is good, that's when you can have those problems that other people would be happy to have. Well, like if you have everything in the world, not having ketchup is a very big issue, to where like some people, can't even eat food, So you kind of have a privileged issue, and quite frankly, you probably don't even have an issue at all. But it's a theme that you will have in May, or most likely will have. So just I would say let it pass, but ultimately it's your decision to make, and ultimately you would know best. All right, and lastly we have Pisces. How is the month of May going to treat you? What can you expect for the month of May? All right, so we have the King of Swords, the Eight of Cups, and the Six of Cups. All right, Pisces, so it looks like the month of May is a period of reflection. It's a time where you're trying to see um, where things have gone wrong. You may not have things, you know, necessarily wrong, like in the sewers, but you are reevaluating things during this time, and it's things that you may have gotten yourself into by not being tactful, by not thinking things out, like not um, almost trusting your intuition. You've kind of just done what maybe felt comfortable or what you deemed as right, but almost like intellectually. Like you can make choices um, based on, your ego. Like you can talk yourself into maybe having an extra slice of cake, when maybe, inside your intuition, it might tell you like maybe you've had enough cake. Um, there's other ways to spin it. I'm just, thinking about, food right now, but you are essentially um, you've gotten into a predicament, and it's based on not listening to your intuition, or not necessarily that, but it's almost more you've listened to your inner monologue more so, and that may have gotten you into some situations that you need help getting out of, and you are making those efforts. You're taking a step back, and you're trying to see where it is that you can make adjustments in your life. So that's good for you. And it looks like you would benefit too from help. If there is individuals that are close to you, those individuals are going to be people that you can rest on, that you can turn to for comfort. And in a lot of situations, they could probably provide you that assistance, that help that you are needing. If there's one thing to caution here, though, is uh, just be careful not to blindly follow just anyone, because at this point it may seem like somebody else might have the right answers for you, and it's what you're looking for, but you could get yourself in a situation where somebody might not have your best interests at heart. So just, be careful who you're listening to, because there could be somebody that may help you, but there maybe other people that might want to use her for their own ends. And ultimately, whatever issues you may get into or that you've gotten into, they're issues that have been brought on by, um, say, your ego or your internal monologue. And the way to get out of something like this is through your intuition. So, if I could recommend anything, maybe spend a small time in solitude, maybe do a little meditation, or whatever your belief system has as like an equivalent, maybe like prayer or something like that. Just try to um, still your mind and try to let that guiding voice come through and try to listen to that more often because a lot of issues that you may have is because you are not hearing that light shining through uh, all that much. I don't want to say listen to the voices because that sounds a little bit weird, but almost like that nudge, like listen to that nudge. um, I don't believe you'll have any audio from that, but that feeling that guides you in the right direction. Try to be more available for that and try to rely less on your internal monologue because that may sometimes take you in directions that you'll have to work your way through or out of. It's like you're thinking yourself into a box and now you can't get out of the box. It's like that inner light, that nudge is what gets you out of that box. So if you have any issues in the month of May, try listening to your intuition. All right, and that's it for the forecast for May. Please let me know what you think of it. As always, I welcome any comments or questions. Any comments really. If you have any suggestions for other types of readings that you'd like to see, please also let me know. I'd love to do some of those readings. And I also want to start doing some daily tarots or maybe like every other 2 days. Um, Maybe shorts. I want to kind of do like a forecast for the day and see how that goes. If you want to see that, let me know as well. All right, well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you sticking through and hearing this. And as always, thank you and have a great rest of your day.